Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to do a review of the Leuchtturm 1917 sketchbook, and then after that I'm going to do a flip through sketchbook tour of my sketches that I have in the sketchbook. So stick around and let's get started. Okay, welcome back. I'm Brian McCormick and this is Gallery Bry, where every Friday you can watch videos on oil painting techniques, material reviews, art marketing, and every now and then I'll throw in a sketchbook tour. So if you want to improve your painting and if you want to grow your art business, make that commitment to yourself right now by hitting that subscribe button and hitting that notification bell so that you don't miss the videos that come out every Friday. And if you're new, make sure you comment new down in the comments so that I can welcome you personally. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the sketchbook. All right, everybody, I'm going to tell you what I think about the Leuchtturm. I like it, and here's why. Keep watching, and you'll find out some of the things that I like about it. So, it's the little things that matter. It's not anything major compared to the Moleskine, which I've been using for actually quite a while. I think I got my first Moleskine probably like 2006 or something like that. But the first thing that I like is that it's just bigger. For the medium size, or I guess this is maybe considered large, but Leuchtturm actually has some larger formats as well, which I don't know that Moleskine does. So that's actually another thing that I really like. But I just like that it's a little bit bigger, and I'm gonna bring my old friend over here, Mr. Moleskine, and you can see that it's just a tiny bit bigger. And that might be a little bit, but it actually is pretty significant when you're doing some sketches and you need a little bit of extra room. And the other thing that's nice too is I always like put things in my sketchbooks, like paintings and different, like for example, I might put something like this, in there, or something a little bit bigger. This is a 4x6. I might put like a 5x7 in there. And it's just a little bit bigger to put things in there, so that's pretty nice. And the other thing that I like about it is the color of the paper. So it's a white color instead of the Moleskine, which is kind of a yellow color. So that's just personal preference. I know a lot of people kind of like the toned paper, so that is just a small difference. Now the weight of the paper, I think it is either similar. It's maybe a little bit heavier. You'll actually just have to kind of, look at the specific poundage for the paper, but it's just a little bit heavier, and at least to my feel here. It doesn't bleed through. If you're using a really heavy Sharpie or something like that, it probably will bleed through, but for what I use, it's pretty solid. I typically use the Pentel brush pen, and it works pretty well even for the washes and for the dark pigments as well. It doesn't seem to bleed through, so that's something that's really nice as well. The other thing that's different, and I don't know if it's something that I like, or I'm just kind of indifferent to it, but they have two of the bookmarks. So this is nice if you want to just kind of keep one page that you want to like continually maybe like reference, a page that you always want to go to, and then maybe the page that you're currently working on. So that's kind of nice as well to kind of have that. It's just something that's a little bit different, and it sets it apart from the Moleskine. The covers are pretty much the same. They're kind of a faux leather, and same with the secure strap here as well. It's pretty much the same. They have the same little marker on the back. So those were the major differences that I found between the Leuchtturm and the Moleskine, and probably the one that's the biggest one for me is just that it's a little bit bigger, and I like the paper a little bit better. Again, probably pretty similar to the Moleskine. It's just a matter of preference. And the Leuchtturm, they do have, I think, larger versions than what Moleskine offers. you know, like pretty big sketchbooks. And they have a bunch of different colors, and I like the black and the reds, and I just recently got kind of like a purple one. So that one's pretty nice as well. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the sketchbook tour. So I typically doodle on the outside of my sketchbooks just because why not? It helps you determine or to distinguish them from the old ones. So if you have a stack of them, you know, lying around and you're trying to figure out what's in it, a lot of times I can figure out, oh, you know, this is the most recent one because, you know, it's got this on the cover. And just draw on any surface possible, really. So here in the front, I usually put some information that's just kind of helpful. I'm not sure how well this will show up on the camera because it's spaced a little bit further back, but basically these are just some painting tips that I like, just rules that I kind of work by. You know, I look for the big shapes. I use a limited palette for color harmony. I try to squint to see the most essential values and the most essential shapes so they don't get caught up in the details early in a painting. I like to paint daily to get into a flow state, and I'm not going to go over all of these, but it's a good checklist that I go by to just kind of remind myself of the foundations that I like to get to. There's all my contact information. Shoot me an email, happy to talk to you. And so you'll notice a little bit of a progression as I go through this sketchbook, some of the different phases that I go through. Now these are all pre-quarantine, I think, for the most part, because there's a lot of figure drawing in here. So that was all before all that went down. But I was kind of just getting started here. Now this again is with the Pentel brush pen. I really like these brush pens. They have a great point to them, and I like these better than the pocket brush because you can actually squeeze and control the flow of the ink. I think it has a better tip. It's a little bit more to a fine point. You have better control, and you can get like larger brush strokes. So I actually prefer these, and I think they're superior to the pocket brush, which looks pretty. It's got a nice refillable cartridge, and it's got a nice exterior, but it just doesn't work that great as the brush pens. So this is just straight brush pen here. I don't really do construction lines. I probably should, but sometimes I just like to go with it. And these were some old Victorian pictures that I was drawing, just looking on Instagram for some reference material to draw. This is a little no-tan study. If you guys aren't familiar with no-tan, it's basically just black and white, two values to establish compositions. This is a parking lot at night. There's a car there, and you got the light from the street lights. This is just some sketching that I did in the coffee shop. So if you guys don't do sketching from life, it's extremely helpful. This was from a hockey game. Basically, you know, anytime I go somewhere, I'm going to be sketching just to keep myself occupied. I get very fidgety. I'm not very good at sitting in one place and not doing something. So I really like to take my sketchbook with me so that even when I'm watching something that I enjoy, I'm at least, you know, staying busy and doing something. And this was from Starbucks. Absolutely love going to Starbucks and just drawing people in line because it really forces you to work extremely fast. You know, someone's gonna be standing there for maybe a minute tops to get their coffee. So you just have to be super fast, and it really forces you to commit to your lines and get really comfortable with that. Here's just some more old Victorian. This is my friend Matt, cousin Matt actually, and he was, you know, out somewhere, so I just decided to draw him. Here, this is actually a copy that I did of Glenn Dean. Look his work up. He is really amazing. Great Western painter. Some more figure drawing from life. These are, I think, some old Victorian photos. Again, I think this one is a John Singer Sargent. Absolutely amazing work that he does. If you don't know him, definitely check him out. Some more figure drawing from life, some more Victorian stuff, and you'll notice later on that my process changes a little bit. Right here, this is just straight pigmented brush pen, and there's another Sargent, and now we're jumping into the figure drawing. So here in Pittsburgh, we have the Carnegie Museum of Art, and they offer some really great figure drawing sessions. And you start out, typically do some quick poses, some 2 minutes, and then you just try and get the basic shape down in the form of the figure. It can be pretty difficult depending on the pose that they do. And here, I try to establish the general shape of the figure, the pose, with a wash. I use the Pentel as well, but it's the wash brush, and it's just really kind of grayed down, and it's good for getting a foundation. So for like this one, I just kind of mapped everything out with the gray, and then I was able to go in and make some distinct, confident lines with the black pigmented pen. Here's some more Victorian and some Starbucks. Now we're getting into some more just really quick poses and just establishing the gesture. And here's a couple more from Starbucks. This one, I'm not sure if that was a Sargent or if that was just a Victorian one. These were also, I think this one was from Starbucks, and I believe this is more figure drawing. This one was just, sometimes, I just jot ideas down in here because it's kind of an idea book. So I was just doing a birthday card, and I was trying to come up with some punny ideas. I know they're groanable puns, but I think they're entertaining and enjoyable, and it's better than, I think, a Hallmark card because they get pretty boring. And there's a group here in Pittsburgh. They go out to some local restaurants and do some figure drawings. So this is a local pizza place. And here's some more from that. And then we're coming into some more figure drawing. So again, it's just trying to establish the gesture, just confident lines, just, if they're off, that's totally fine. You're just trying to really kind of loosen up and get a feel for, the shape of the figure. And then you can work on detail on later, longer poses. So eventually I'll probably get to some portraits because I started to do a little bit more portraits. This is from the Oakmont Bakery here in Pittsburgh. The place is just absolutely ridiculous. When you think bakery, you think little tiny place in, like a small town and somebody's grandma behind the counter. This place is massive. It's like the size of, like, I don't know, like a Dick's Sporting Goods or something like that. It's just insanely big. Great place to people watch and do some drawing. So this is from a birthday, and here's some more Victorian stuff, some more Starbucks. And I started doing some value studies. These aren't quite no-tans because there's a mid-tone in here, so I guess you could dispute whether it's a no-tan or not, but it's roughly on that same line where I was just establishing the light and the dark to just try and get some ideas for painting compositions. Here is a wedding. Again, I get very fidgety, and I just like to draw things just so I'm staying busy. And this one's a little bit more no-tan like because it's pretty much just black and white. There's very little mid-tone involved in it. And now kind of getting into portraits a little bit. And here's some more stuff that was left over from the figure drawing. This was kind of the tail end of it, I think. I'll have to look at the date and see exactly when these were, but I think we're probably coming up close to quarantine time. And so here are some thumbnails. So these are really, really great to try and figure out compositions for larger paintings. You can do them super fast. Just do them with 3 values, a light, a dark, and a mid-tone. And it just helps you figure out what you want your composition to look like. Should I put the massive trees over here? Should I put the hills over here? And then that way it can enable you to quickly establish a composition without doing, even a color study, so that you can get it done quickly. And these were from a day at the museum, just looking at some old Impressionist work. Here's another thumbnail. I went to Grand Teton National Park, and I think it was 2017, and got some pictures there. And this is from one of the reference photos that I was using, is trying to figure out if this would make a good composition. And I think it did, because the mountains were very hazy because there were fires that week when we were there, and made for a really nice painting composition. So a couple portraits here from Sketchy, SKCTCH. I don't know, but it's a app that you can use to get portraits from people. They post their selfies basically, and then you can draw them and post them. It's a pretty good community. Everybody there is really nice and sharing, and it's a nice vibe going on there. So here's a few more portraits, and notice like later on I started using more of the wash instead of doing more of like line drawings. Then I started doing a little bit more of softer lost and found edges type of deal, because I just think it looks a little bit more natural. And I was just playing around with different style, give more kind of light and shadow as opposed to like a hard line for different things. Yes, where this one's a little bit more harder lines, this one has a mid-tone in it. I think it just looks a little bit nicer, and it's easier to get the proportions right. So when you map out the big shapes first, so the darks for the eyes and maybe the chin and the neck, that sort of thing, you're not putting in any detail, you're just putting in the general tonal values in there, and then you can come in with some sharper lines later on. And this was the last one that I did, and I think this one turned out pretty good. I like the way that the light worked for the hair, and the darks for the shadows. And typically I'll draw on this area here, but I just didn't do that. Actually, this one's not fully complete because I got a couple blank pages, but I think it worked out pretty well. All right, everybody. Hopefully that was helpful for you. If it was, please return the favor and give this video a like. And down in the comments, let me know which sketchbook you like better. Are you a Leuchtturm fan, or are you a Moleskine fan? I'd be eager to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss the videos that come out every Friday. So with that, hope you're doing well, and we'll see you next week.